There's a scene where even Joe Weider says, "Hey Arnold, don't you think that Robby Robinson can beat you?"
Don't you think that anybody else has a chance to beat you like Robby Robinson?
No, come on, Joe.
All of a sudden, this black guy's coming in here now, and there's a whole nother different kind of attention. And he didn't like that. He knew that Joe Weider appreciated my physique more. Kind of a slap in the face. Yeah. I can understand that.
Here's why Arnold has to win 1975. Arnold's paid $50K to appear in the movie. Charles Gaines, the writer of the book and the script of the movie, he was a judge.
Who you think he gonna vote for? Oh, if you talk about it, then you're gonna be outcasted like myself.
Don't you think that anybody else has a chance to beat you like Robby Robinson?
No, come on, Joe.
You got to be more powerful than anything that can happen.
I think that Robby's gonna be the great black hope.
If you let anything crack, just you don't. When he flipped it off, everybody was like,
let's go to pumping iron. So before we start pumping iron, I gotta give the backstory. Behind pumping iron, it's two guys. It's Charles Gaines, which is that's the writer of the book, and George Butler, which is the photographer. Charles Gaines is a very accomplished writer. He actually wrote a book called Stay Hungry that was also turned into a movie that had Arnold. And after this book, he also wrote Pumping Iron, for which George Butler took the photos. Charles Gaines actually even tried to talk to Sergio Oliva to star in the movie, but whenever he would bring up Sergio, Arnold was like, no, no, no. He had nothing to do with Sergio. Here's another interesting moment when they were trying to put this whole project together for Pumping Iron, to make it into a movie. And by the way, I got many books over here, but this is Pumping Iron, the book. Best-selling book. I think it sold like 700,000 copies in the 70s.
The 70s, yeah.
And this one is signed by Ed Corney, Mr. America, Mr. Universe. This is another piece that's pretty... Yeah. Here's what happened, and I shared it with you because I'm not sure you had all the details on this. Here's how the movie got financed. Arnold was supposed to retire in 1974.
Exactly.
But he got persuaded not to retire because George Butler needed him to stay active for one more year. Arnold ended up having to train into condition for filming of Stay Hungry, which began shooting in April of '75. And it was around this time that Butler met a 28-year-old film producer, Jerome Gary.
Jerome Gary, who was instrumental in the making of Pumping Iron and often gets left out of the mix when people discuss the movie. But Jerome was the producer of the movie. And so he and George came down to Alabama to visit me while we were shooting down there. And George said, you know, we're going to make this movie. We're trying to raise some money. We'd like to have you involved any way you want to be involved. And at the time, wasn't much I could do to help out with it, but I agreed to write the script, which I did, and to narrate it, and to go on some of the filming part of it where George and Jerome thought I could be helpful.
And this is actually from a phone interview with Jerome Gary. So I'm just giving all the references. Jerome met George Butler at the Cannes Film Festival in Cannes, France. In '75. Butler was looking for someone to put up money to finance Pumping Iron, and Gary said he could invest $25,000 and guaranteed another $25,000 later on, and the two men would form a partnership where they would both co-produce the movie. Butler and Gary headed over to Alabama, where Arnold was shooting Stay Hungry, And according to Jerome Gary, they signed Arnold for $50,000 and 5% of the net from pumping iron. Yeah. And this is a lot of money for 1970s.
If you're looking at the movie Pumping Iron, most people didn't know Arnold retired after 74. George Butler had to entice him out with, George wouldn't give me the amount, Jerome Gary, who was co-produced with George, he told me they offered Arnold $50,000 and I think 5% of the cut of the film to get him to compete again. So if most of the competitors, if any of the competitors knew at that time that Arnold's being paid $50,000 to compete and then Charles Gaines is going to judge the contest, you know, a lot of them are going to say, what the hell?
So basically, Arnold was being paid $50,000 plus 5% from the net.
The movie hadn't even been developed yet.
No, hasn't even started. Arnold is getting paid, and here's why Arnold has to win 1975. One, Charles Gaines, the writer of the book and the script of the movie, he was a judge.
I got to be a judge, an IFBB judge, and actually was one of the judges in that competition. So Wide World asked me to do some color commentary on bodybuilding for them, and did that for a while.
Yep.
In 1975 of the Olympia.
Who you think he gonna vote for?
Of course. Now, two, Arnold's paid $50K to appear in the movie.
Yeah.
He has to win. He's getting paid, and also the Olympia judge is the writer of the movie. Now, of course, the job is to clear the way for the movie to be filmed, for the story to be filmed. And actually, Arnold, we'll go back to it, we'll get to it later, asked Charles Gaines to be another time judge for him in 1980.
He showed good judgment in 1980 when Arnold asked him to come to Australia, and he said no. And I asked him, why did you say no? He said, because I knew he was going to ask me to judge, and he didn't want to be part of that one. Because he wasn't sure Arnold could win. In 75, he was pretty sure that Arnold was going to win, because then nobody else was allowed in. But in 1980, he said he wasn't sure Arnold could win. He didn't want to get caught up in that. So I thought it was good. Arnold and Maria were very angry with him for a long time.
And Charles Gaines said, no, thank you, because he knew how messed up it was.
Yeah.
So that's the setup for 1975 Mr. Olympia. It's written for Arnold. Arnold's getting paid, and the judge is the writer.
Yeah, we all signed those contracts, and in that process of signing the contracts, I took to a friend of mine named George Zachary. He took it, read it, and said, hey, you get nothing.
Wow. So non-payable contract. This sets you up.
Non-payable. This set us all up.
Everybody got the same contract.
All got the 50K.
Wow. Okay, so this is from your book. Basically, you said that you got introduced to Charles Gaines and George Butler during breakfast at the German restaurant, correct? That same night, the filming started at Arnold's house. When everybody's having a good time, Arnold's introducing you, you're dancing, and then you're not drinking, and everybody's getting a little tipsy. So when the guy said, hey, nobody's gonna get paid, you stood up. He's like, hey, we need to get paid. And then you started to walk out, and you walked out with Danny Gable and your lady. And then Charles and George Butler started chasing you and be like, hey, hold on, let's take care of it. And then the next day you sign up those contracts, the fictitious contracts, the non-payable ones.
$100
So they would give you $100 a day.
Yeah.
And then you had a contract that's not worth anything.
Yeah, it was all just fraud.
Wow.
The whole thing of it. It was sad because everybody was so excited.
Yeah.
All the guys, the little players that was a part of it, that were backing him up.
Yeah.
We were also excited because we'll finally be able to have a piece of money.
Yeah.
That we could feel good about ourselves and stuff like that.
Man, that's messed up.
That's messed up.
It's messed up.
It was a very painful thing for me, and to see it happen like that to the people that were supporting the whole movie.
Yeah.
You know, I still sometimes feel just sad about it because it hurt everybody.
Like nobody talks about it. Like many other things, nobody wants to talk about it.
I mean, if you talk about it, then you're going to be outcasted like myself in the whole situation.
Yeah.
Eddie Judy Arnold was really concerned about that before he passed away.
Yeah.
Because he saw what was going on. He knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And he even went to Charles Glass about it.
Yeah.
Because he was so worried about me not being able to get that little piece to come out of it in a good place with him.
I used to see Eddie He would train every day.
He had a good heart. He was a good man.
He was a great man. The sweetest guy.
Yeah.
He was at Gold's at 4 a.m. every morning. And he would train the whole body.
Say again?
He would train the whole body.
Oh, yeah.
That was his workout. And he would never get hurt.
That was Eddie.
Eddie was awesome.
He was an awesome guy.
Next thing that happens, the Ross Warner Classic. You were in a better condition than Arnold, and it was too obvious. Like, I know at the start of the movie, you can tell Arnold is small because he still needs to get on the drugs to grow, because he just wasn't in shape. And by the way, this is Arnold with Charles Gaines and George Butler.
Amazing.
Yeah. At the beginning of the filming, or somewhere middle through, this is a scene from the movie that wasn't included in the original Pumping Iron. This is you and Arnold on the beach. And I mean, just have a good look. I mean, how about the legs? I don't see much of legs on Arnold, but those legs, man, on Robby look pretty spectacular. Abs, six-pack is there. Chest, full, way fuller than Arnold, even though Arnold's famous for his chest. When we talk Arnold, we talk chest and bicep. And then arms. I mean, arms are fuller. So this is Robby on the beach, walking next to Arnold. And next thing you know, the producers tell Robby what? Robby, don't flex.
Well, that's a part of it. The fact that the movie was made for Arnold. It wasn't really made for myself. I came in there, I was a distraction pretty much.
Yeah.
But I was a distraction enough, but I was a good distraction.
Yeah.
And I understood all of that. When they say don't flex, I would flex anyway.
Yeah.
Because I knew that's what people wanted to see. It wasn't me trying to not outdo Arnold. It was just me trying to be, you know, find my place in this whole network of people.
Yes.
And I found myself, hey, I'm going to flash what I got.
This came out later. And also another scene that's been deleted. There's a scene where even Joe Weider says, hey, Arnold, don't you think that Robby Robinson can beat you?
Don't you think that anybody else has a chance to beat you like Robby Robinson?
No, come on, Joe.
So all of this has been cut out from the movie. Like all these, like there's 100+ hours that we don't know where they went. Well, we know where they went. We know where they are.
Yeah, he knew that Joe Weider appreciated my physique more.
Yes.
That's what it was. And I think that was, in a sense, after him being there with Joe for all these years, was a little bit kind of a slap in the face. Yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah.
So that made the whole situation worse for me. Yeah. Because he's going to react to me because Joe is reacting to me, and, you know, everybody's, oh, sensationalism. Yeah. That's what I said to myself. Yeah.
You know, there's that thing that happened at Ross Warner's Classic when you got the biggest cheer.
It all came down in San Jose when we was after the competition was over, and everybody was having a big party and everything. We was all in there dancing, and you know, I'm a black guy. You know, you're not dancing with no white women. Nobody could even think that would even be possible. And then they was filming all of this, and then the process of Arnold comes in the room, down with the blacks. And he kept black in this and black. I started looking around. I'm the only black. I'm the only black in the room. So I just walked out, went to my hotel room, went to sleep.
Wow.
And I remember hearing Joe Weider say, Arnold, stop that. Stop that. And as he was saying it, I was already walking out of the room. The reason he did that was because of the fact I had got up and walked out of the whole thing. Yeah. And he went to Eddie Giuliani and said, you know, some pretty nasty things. Yeah. That's about the third time he's walked out of my house, but I had done that on several occasions. Yeah. Because I didn't really want to get caught up in all of that. Yeah. I'm straight, as I say, I was from the swamps. I didn't know anything about having to button my lip or not say what's on my mind. Are you crazy? Yeah. I mean, is that a freedom of speech?
No. Screw your freedom.
But I wasn't aware of that. I grew aware of that after they kicked me out of the organization.
Robby, you were so ahead of your time. You were speaking your mind, and you were speaking the truth. That's ahead of time.
Yeah, but I was ahead of my time. Yeah, you normally go in there, you have to button your lips, and it didn't hit on me until after I was out of and had gone to move to Europe. Yeah. Yeah. So to understand that. And then when I came back in I think I came back like in 1983 or something like that, and start competing again. So I had a whole nother career again. Yeah. And then at that point, by this time, they were giving contracts out. Yeah. And so I think I got a contract about paid $6,500 a month. It lasted 4 months. Yeah. So while I went to Europe to work and do exhibition, Joe Weider called me up and said, your contract has been canceled.
So, but this happened during that new league that was started.
Exactly.
The WBF, I believe.
The WBF.
And he gave, so now Weider's losing athletes because everybody's defecting to his league.
Yeah.
And Tom Platz was running that whole deal.
Yeah.
And he was losing bodybuilders left and right.
Left and right.
Gary Stridham.
Yeah.
They were supposed to get even Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
So now the guy that never gave you a contract finally goes, Robby, here's a contract after I don't know how many years, because he didn't want to lose any more people.
Exactly.
And then the moment WBF disbanded, he's like, Robby,
yeah, he canceled me out. Seriously.
No more contract.
It blew my mind because
wow.
I had signed the contract for, I think, for 2 years.
Yes.
It's a 2-year contract, $6,500. And all of a sudden, in the first 4 months of the contract, January, February, March, April, it was canceled.
So after the Ross Warner Classic and the apartment incident with the payment, Arnold started to train by himself, right? He stopped training with you and Danny Gable because he was being filmed by himself.
After the Ross Warner Classic, everybody was talking about Robby Robinson. And in a sense, nobody was, showing him any attention or paying. Everything was all about Robby Robinson, this new black guy from Florida, and everybody was on top of me now. Everybody was talking about me.
Yeah.
And I think in a sense of him, he was like on his last Mr Olympia, he was the guy.
Yes.
One of the Weider's top guy.
Yes.
So all of a sudden this black guy's coming in and now there's a whole nother different kind of attention.
Yes.
And he didn't like that. I can understand that, in a sense. But at the same time, it's all about competition, competitiveness. I mean, you have to stand up and be able to talk the talk and walk the walk.
Of course.
You have to be able to.
Now it's time for Robby's story.
Yeah,
and,
it's awesome.
And also, if you want to support Robby and you want to know more about Robby's life, you want to get the full story, make sure you get yourself a copy of his book, The Black Prince.
You can always do better. You just got to believe in yourself.